What's up guys, it's me, Daniel, back with a brand new video. Today I'm finally reviewing Crash on the Run. I've been playing this game constantly every single day for months now. And I'd have to say this is definitely one of the best games on the App Store that I've played in a long time. Now I know a lot of people have complained about this game taking forever to get through. While I do think it is very frustrating to have to wait for hours just to craft all the weapons you need, I still can't help but really enjoy this game. As much as I hate having to constantly gather all the materials I need, I can't help but not find it too annoying like other people do. I just think this game is so good that I honestly don't even care how long it takes to collect all the materials, because I really like this game. I do get tired of having to wait for the levels to restock on certain items, but I honestly don't mind waiting. It would be better if you didn't have to wait so long, but you can't really blame the developers for doing it like this. And besides, if crafting materials never took longer than half an hour, then the game would be way too easy. Although I do think there are some items that take way too long to craft. The Oxide Bazooka, for example, takes up to 20 hours. That's way too long in my book. Personally, I don't think items should take longer than 5 to 6 hours to craft. There's no reason it should take up to 20 hours. Of course, while you're waiting for your weapons to craft, you can always play challenge mode, which I think is one of the most challenging parts in the game. Time trial mode is also a fun way to kill the time while you're waiting for your weapons to craft. You can also try your luck at collecting all the gems and crystals. Speaking of crystals, some of the costumes in this game can cost up to 400 crystals. I just wish the costumes were cheaper, or they could at least make it a little bit easier to obtain crystals. Some of the costumes are cheaper to get, but most of them can cost up to 200. I don't mind spending 200 crystals on a costume, but I don't think they should cost more than 200. At least the game has a good variety of costumes though. Personally, I think they could have been a little more creative with their costume choices. Most of the costumes are good, but there are some I don't like. I don't see why they decided to include the blue hyena costume, for example. We already had this costume in CTR, and it's not even a very good costume to begin with. If they wanted to include a costume from Crash Team Racing, why couldn't they have at least picked a better outfit for Crash? There are plenty of other outfits to choose from. Another thing I don't like about this game would have to be the villains. While I admit defeating the same villains over and over may be a bit repetitive, I can't really blame the developers for doing this. My guess is they're saving the other villains for future levels. I feel like they would eventually run out of villains if they didn't decide to save some of them for future updates. So I can't really blame them for doing this. Another thing I don't like about the game is the Noid. The Noid already ruins everyone's pizza. Why does he have to try and ruin Crash on the Run too? This is all a cheap gimmick to make people eat Domino's. The game already contains enough ads to begin with, so why did they have to include the Noid as well? While I do admit it is kind of clever to include the Noid, I still think it would make more sense to include villains from the actual games. The developers should have just avoided the Noid altogether. As for the levels in this game, I don't really have many complaints about them, although I don't see why they decided to include 2 snow levels. 1 snow level is enough. I really just don't see the point in doing that. I also think they should have included levels that aren't necessarily from the first 3 games. There are plenty of levels from other Crash games they could easily include. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing some levels from Wrath of Cortex. I admit that might sound like a weird choice, But I played Wrath of Cortex when I was a kid, and despite everyone else's opinion, I really enjoyed the game. Whether you're a fan of Wrath of Cortex or not, you have to admit the game had some pretty good levels that could easily be used for Crash on the Run. One of my favorite levels from Wrath of Cortex would have to be the Western-themed levels. For some reason, none of the other Crash Bandicoot games have levels based off the Old West, so why not include them in Crash on the Run? Plus, there are lots of other levels they could include, like the Saudi Arabia levels from Crash Warped, or they could make a level based off Coco Park from CTR. They could even include the Behaving levels from Cortex Strikes Back. The possibilities are endless. I can't wait to see what new levels they add eventually. I just hope they don't add any more snow levels. Anyway, I definitely give this game a 10 out of 10. The game may have a few minor problems, but I really enjoyed this game. I honestly can't put it down. So despite a few issues I have with the game, I definitely recommend it. Well, that's about it for this video. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments, and I'll see you next time.